Hello, I'm Jack Davis, the Crops Business Management for SDSU Extension out of the Mitchell office. And we're going to talk a little bit about hay supplies, the use and the leftovers that we have coming into this growing season. It's good to be working with the Northern Plains Forage Association and on their membership drive. Excited to work with this group, providing economics on hay production and market information. So feel free to contact me at any time. I'll get this to advance. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it doesn't. There we go. So email is jack.davis@sdstate.edu. So you can surely email me or reach out with a text or phone call to my cell phone or to the office. Either one is fine. So first off, we'll take a look at the long run South Dakota cattle inventory. This is going back to the 30s and through current time. And that number is right around 4 million head. And this would be all cattle. So it's all beef cows, all the dairy cows, all the feeder cattle, everything is mixed in there. It really kind of hangs around that 4 million head, maybe 3.8 million. So kind of right in there anyway, and doesn't fluctuate a whole lot over time, up and down just a little bit, but kind of right along that mark. But one thing that has changed, as we'll see by this next slide, is the amount that it's changed from from beef to dairy, or the amount that the dairy has increased. So over on the left-hand side, as we see in the blue, that's our beef cattle, and here's their inventory. Went up after 18, but then has come down in recent years with low profitability, probably on the beef cow side. Maybe some more profit in recent years, going into the grains. Maybe some pasture plowed up in the last couple of years, and that beef cow herd reduced some. Now look at the dairy side. Back in 2010, so 13 years ago, dairy was right at about 5% of the total cow inventory. And now it is over 10% in this year. So as we see the two scales here, this is at 2 million and we're at 200,000 on the dairy side. So it's easy to see that relationship between the two. But basically over the last 13 years, our dairy cow herd in South Dakota has doubled, which would really, I think, indicate probably a more need for a higher quality forage, more consistent need for forage, possibly that they're being fed year round versus some out grazing and a need for forage. So here I just wanted to do kind of a comparison and say, well, what did that mean for our forage? And what I did was said that beef cow would do 2.5 ton per year, and the dairy cows would do, let me think here, 4.5 ton. Actually, the beef I had set at 2.25 ton, and then the dairy was at 4.5 ton per year of dry matter. So just kind of showing that change. The beef went from 3.7 to 3.4, and the dairy, of course, doubled with our number of cows that came in. Our total increase in was a 200,000 ton increase. And like I said before, that would probably be in higher quality forage to support that dairy herd. So then I wanted to take a look at drought, and I just went back and compared it to a same time frame 10 years ago in March, when we were coming off the 2011-12 drought. And just, I think one of the things that you can see is the intensity was worse back then, 10 years ago, than it was during the same week of this year. Now, the winter time can't cure a drought, so a lot will depend as we move through spring on what happens with forage production. But a lot of the reason we are short in the U.S. and in South Dakota is because of the dry area below us and a little bit to the east of us, and we'll see some more on the drought map. Here's just same thing, just narrowed down the states to the high plains. Again, looking at, here's our current one on this side, and then also looking back 10 years and where we were at 10 years ago. And it did turn around pretty well in 10 years ago, but we'll see. Weather will tell what happens as we move through this spring. So cattle areas in the drought, just looking at that, again, this is March 21st. There's about 46% of the cattle inventory is within an area experiencing drought. And so that's any level of drought. And the dark green shaded areas are the major livestock, and the hashed is the drought area, as you can see. And again, much of that taking place south of us, the intensity of the drought and the expansion of it, all really to the south of us. And then, of course, what's happened out west or has been in the past few years. Alfalfa hay, then looking at that, same kind of thing, about 38% is in a drought area of our alfalfa hay production. And you can see where those areas are at. And then this is just all hay. So it would include alfalfa and prairie hay, grass hay would also be included that. And that's about at 30%. So we need to get our forage inventories back up. We need a decent growing year across the northern plains and also throughout the southern plains south of us. We need that to be on par and help get that forage inventory built back up. So looking at all hay supply, this is the production and the May 1 stocks, and then we'll also look at, in the slide coming up, the December stocks. So you can see, as we finished out the year of May, we were below where we were in 2012. And we've had a pretty heavy use winter, I feel, at least in the Dakotas for most of us. And so we'll see how we end up in our May stocks coming up here in a couple months. So now looking at the December 1 stocks, and one of the things that is critical is this 80 million ton on a nationwide basis. You won't really see an expansion in the beef herd till that forage level gets above the 80 million ton. And that's just producers of cattle aren't comfortable expanding with that low of inventory of hay. It's just almost too expensive to make the beef cattle thing work without a more comfortable supply of hay. It's just too much risk involved in sourcing that forage. And you can see we are right at 72 million ton. I think it's 71.8. So we'll just call it 72 million ton. Really the lowest it's been since they started keeping these records, almost 50, 60 years or low. Well, we did increase a little bit in South Dakota, so probably north of Highway 14. Minnesota saw a little increase in all hay stocks over the 21 period to the December 22 period. But as you can see from the drought map that we saw earlier, and then in this map, all down below us and a little bit to the states to the east, all had a decrease in their hay stocks as of December 1st. So we can't pull any hay really from the south of us, where in many years we may be able to do that. So just another look at South Dakota's and where their inventory falls, down below where we were in peak forage times, but not as bad as some states around us. Here, just looking at all hay stocks and then the seasonal average price for all hay. We were forecasted 22 and 23 at $213 a ton for the seasonal average price. And that's a weighted average price based on tons sold and the price that they bring. And then expected for stocks to go up in 23 and 24 and price to drop down a little bit. I would say we'll finish out this winter probably very strong on price around that probably $200 mark. And then it'll depend on what happens to production as we move through 23. Here's the same thing, just looking at alfalfa ending stocks in $1 per ton in the season average price. Again, 270, and as kind of expecting that to go down a little bit in price in 23 and 24. Starting in May as new stocks come about. And part of that's probably just as we more forage being produced, hopefully a good growing year, and then maybe some sell-off of some of the beef cows. So just taking a quick look at normal winter use for the U.S. as of percent of the December 1 stocks, and you can read that there. It's generally 75% for the U.S. as a total. So that would give us a winter use of 57.1, and our May 1 stocks expected at 14.8, or the tightest since 2013. And South Dakota, our December stocks were up a little bit. We tend to use 77%. I would expect that would be more for this year, but we'll wait and see how that shakes out. So that would imply a winter use of 3.05 ton. And if stayed like normal, we'd be up a little bit from 22 in 22. And here, just comparing the all hay price. So the bars are the all hay price, and then a South Dakota corn price. And this is again a weighted average for the market year. So far this year, it's averaged right at 650 and down just a little bit. But I thought it was interesting where hay had not spiked up to reach what it did in 2012. But we'll see how it finishes out this marketing year, if it'll move a little higher or where that will be at. So that is what I had for you guys today. Again, feel free to reach out to me if you have questions on production cost or need information on hay and forage production. One of the things we've done is get this information from what's called the LMIC, which is a Livestock Market Information Center. And as South Dakota contributes to that, and as part of that, that's all the data is housed out in Colorado. But we have access to that database, and if people are interested in some slides from there or information from that, reach out to us and we can get that for you. So again, this is Jack Davis, and it's good to be working with this group, and thanks for having me.